Hi, my name is Makayla Monachino, and I'll be discussing my topic, which is arranged marriage. An arranged marriage is a marriage planned and agreed by the families or guardians of the couple concerned rather than by the couple themselves. Arranged marriage is typically referred to a collectivistic culture, which means the society prioritizes the group over the individuals, and marriage affects far more than just the husband, wife, and children. Arranged marriages affect the futures and socioeconomic positions of all the extended family as well. Marriages in these cultures is more so thought about fulfilling your role in your certain family position than it is worrying about yourself. Arranged marriages are chosen to improve social mobility, or also known as status. And hierarchies are also a huge part of arranged marriages, as those higher in the chain of command have the upper hand in making marriage choices. Arranged marriage was popular across the globe in the 1900s, with it being extremely dominant in India and China. They were known as traditional and also steered away from the idea of idealism. In recent years, many countries and cultures have shifted from arranged marriages and turned to what is known as love marriages. As the world has become more modernized, a lot more countries place great emphasis on individualism, free choice, and in general freedom, which steers away from the tradition that made arranged marriages what they were. Next, I will be explaining how and why arranged marriage affects women. Arranged marriage can affect a woman's mental health. In a study done, arranged marriage was positively associated with major depressive disorder. Arranged marriage can potentially lead to intimate partner violence, and intimate partner violence was found to be associated with depression as well. There is evidence that supports the statement that the most severe types of intimate partner violence are in arranged marriages. And now for why. A woman can potentially feel trapped in a situation that they did not choose. It is also seen that women will feel a loss of freedom, as a man may view the woman as their property. With this gender disparity, women are given less freedom for their own choices, which we have learned in class can lead to women having less say in their marriage, family size plus timing choices, and contraceptive usage as well, which ties all into family planning. As we can see, and according to the studies, women have little to no benefit from arranged marriages, as women have no input on their spouse. The prevalence and incidence of arranged marriages around the world is difficult to reliably conclude on, but in the 1970s there were about half of marriages arranged, and now in the 2000s it is down to 1/3. Worldwide, more than 650 million women alive today were married as children, and at least 12 million get married before they reach the age of 18. This number also doubles in less developed countries. Next, I will be discussing demographics of arranged marriage and world ranking in India. India has the most arranged marriages in their country. Arranged marriages have been part of India since the 4th century. Arranged marriages are customary in India, and couples are not expected to form relationships before marriage. In a study done, less than 5% of Indian women had a role in choosing their husband, and 22% knew their husband before they were married. India's World Health Ranking is 66 out of 195 countries. Next, I will be discussing key factors contributing to the health of women in arranged marriages in India. Major depressive disorder is positively correlated with arranged marriage for women. Dowries are a large part of India's marriages, and they give perceptions on wealth and status. In a study done, it was concluded that increased dowry prevalence increased the woman's poor self-related health, and this can be due to their status being lowered. Self-related health is also a strong predictor of women's physical and mental health, mortality, and biological, social, and psychological dimensions of health. Dowries were also found to cause challenges and barriers to accessing healthcare, resources, and knowledge, which can ultimately be debilitating for women. The dowry demand is much higher for older girls than it is for younger girls, because older women are perceived as less desirable than younger, and older women are requiring even older grooms, who are likely better educated and therefore more sought after and could demand larger dowries than their younger or less educated counterparts. Younger brides are also perceived to be more compliant and less resistant to marital family demands, thereby attracting a lower dowry. Next, I will be discussing India's economic, societal, educational, geography, and religion factors. For economics, only 1/4 of women in India have salaries or are wage workers, which is extremely low. For societal, India stands at 127th out of 146 nations in the Global Gender Gap Report. The gender gap has widened 62.5% due to reasons like having a decrease in women's involvement in the workforce and having no women in leadership roles. Next, talking about education, women are not a priority to be educated. In a study done, those with parents who were educated had increased likelihood of self-arranged marriage. Educational attainment level is also a leading cause for arranged marriage. This is a continuation of the last topic. For the geography, India is majority rural, and rural areas tend to be stricter with culture, traditions, and other factors, such as gender roles, that ultimately influence marriage norms and choices. For religion, India's religion is predominantly Hinduism, and with this, marriage is seen as a sacramental union that cannot be broken in future years. Marriage is not just for the couple, but it is for the relationship between two families to begin. And this is why children are expected to respect their parents' decisions on who their marriage will be with. Now I will be discussing the demographics of arranged marriage and world ranking in Pakistan. Pakistan has many arranged marriages as well, with 78% of them being arranged in the year 2018. In both countries, women are seen as subordinate to men, meaning they are less than. Also, same as India, arranged marriages are customary and women do not have a say. And this all shows how similar the customs of Pakistan and India are. And Pakistan's world health ranking is 130 out of 195 countries. Now I will be discussing key factors contributing to the health of women in arranged marriages in Pakistan. Giving women the freedom to pick their partner gives them more power and freedom in choosing of many different areas, such as the number of children they will have, contraceptive use, and in general family planning. Decisions involving marriage and family planning are always controlled by the family. Education, socioeconomic status, freedom outside the house, and decision-making in the home are all factors that contribute to arranged marriages in Pakistan. The more women have the ability to make these choices and be included in these factors, the less likelihood of being stuck in the arranged marriage. Next, I will be discussing Pakistan's economic, societal, educational, geography, and religion factors, all relating back to arranged marriages. Starting with economics, young girls were seen as financial burdens, and marrying them at a young age transferred this burden. In one of the studies, I found it interesting that women were discussing how men had pressure to fulfill the expected roles society had for them as a financial provider. This shows how gender roles are existent in Pakistan for both men and women. And this takes me into my societal factors. Same as India, women do not have power to make their own decisions either. In this study, it was found that girl children were considered burdens by their mothers, and getting them married lessened this responsibility. Further, mothers saw young girls as a financial burden, like I said. Now going into education, women are not educated in many areas, including sexual and reproductive health and rights, which is extremely important for women to know and understand. In a study done, it was shown that women in Pakistan only knew what they were told, meaning that child marriage is good and they should be happy with their parents marrying them. It was also found that the more education the parents and child had, the less likely young arranged marriage was, which I found really interesting. Now I will be continuing with the geography and religion factors. For geography, although not as vast as India, Pakistan is 64% rural, which tends to be stricter with culture, traditions, and other factors such as gender roles, like I previously mentioned, and these all ultimately influence marriage norms and choices. Now going into religion, Islamic religion is a big part of the Pakistani culture, and this comes with traditional beliefs and practices surrounding arranged marriages. Women do not have any power or any say in decision making, and marriage is seen as a cultural need for the men and the society. For my next two topics, I will be discussing them with Pakistan and India together because I found them to be extremely similar in their beliefs and factors. So, going into the socio-cultural factors that make arranged marriages a problem, women's empowerment is a socio-cultural factor contributing to problems within arranged marriages. Women are seen as inferior to men in all areas of life. Women who are less educated and not given the freedom to make their own decisions felt less empowerment, which ultimately leads to worse health. Pakistan and India are also both a patriarchy, meaning men are in power and women are seen as below them in all areas of life. Decisions involving family planning are controlled by the husband and the in-law typically, because marriage is a symbol of becoming sexually available for the male's usage. Due to gender differences and roles in both countries, women are expected to be ready to reproduce, while men will then provide for the family. This leads to a woman's loss in freedom and rights. These disparities are what hurt women. Next, I'll be discussing for both countries the cultural factors that affect arranged marriages in Pakistan and India. Both Pakistan and India are filled with many traditions and cultural beliefs that impact the lives of women. One cultural factor that has consistently come up with both countries is the tradition of men being a provider, while women are expected to readily be available at the service of men, which I have mentioned a few times thus far. This factor is due to a lack of women's rights, education, and freedom. With this, women's lack of freedom to make their own decision is a reason why the prevalence of arranged marriage is higher than most countries. Hierarchies are also another part of both cultures that impact arranged marriages. Hierarchies are a chain of command, and in this case, for the marriage, the chain of command has the woman getting married at the bottom, having the least say. Next, I will be discussing Pakistan's cultural beliefs on women's health. And just to be clear, I am going back to explaining my two countries separately. Women in Pakistan have many health problems, such as illness, disease, accidents, and injuries. And the health services are poor for women, as their health is not seen in equal importance to men's, which is the same as India. There are so many laws involving women's contraceptive usage and abortions, and on top of this, women receive little to no education on their own health, which leads to these unsafe abortions, death, infections, and illness. On top of all this, due to cultural hierarchy, households do not spend nearly as much on women's health compared to men's health needs. Women's well-being is severely impacted due to being unable to get contraceptions, abortions when needed, or assistance with health problems. Next, I will be discussing India's cultural beliefs on women's health. India views men as more valuable in their society compared to women. There is a son preference that exists due to women rarely being educated nor entering the labor force, and the high dowry costs they come with, and lastly, because typically men in India have the job of taking care of their parents as they age, which I found really interesting. Due to these factors, it impacts women's health in many areas, such as reproductive health, unequal treatment, and possible domestic violence. High fertility is a large factor in women's health problems, as contraceptive usage is low and many women are unable to get contraceptives. With these high levels of fertility and being unable to get contraceptives, women will bear high numbers of children. Having many children close together impacts women's nutritional health, leading to poor health for themselves and their newborn babies too. Domestic violence is an issue in India that is ignored by authorities as it can be seen as normal to do. However, violence can lead to serious health impacts and well-being as their involvement in society becomes minimal, and the children of these women are impacted too. Now I will be discussing efforts made by India's government and organizations. India's constitution's preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and directive principles all state the importance of gender equality. The Constitution also allows the state to implement measures favoring women. India also ratified the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in 1993. In 2001, legislators established the National Policy for the Advancement of Women. Although these policies are not directly associated with lowering the amount of arranged marriages, giving women more power gives them more say in their choices, which includes marriage and family planning. Ultimately, women will be receiving more feelings of empowerment. There are laws in place for preventing child marriage, dowries, and arranged marriage, but they are not implemented strongly, nor are they advocated for. Next, I will be discussing societal and organizational responsibilities India has when advocating for women's health. I really did not find much, but I'll be discussing what I was able to find. The RKSK is an adolescent program provided to educate on areas such as health information, reproductive choices, and gender norms, but it is not known how truly effective they are. In India, there are also self-help groups, and in a study done, it was found that being part of these groups leads to women feeling more empowered. In addition, there was an All India's Women Conference, which is one of the oldest organizations in the country, and this organization helps to improve women's education with the 150 educational institutions they have. Now, going into the ethical constraints and considerations in advocating for women's health in India. Women in India do not see their health in great importance, and this is due to the gender disparity we talked about previously. This impacts how effective advocating for women's health can be. Women's health is not taken as seriously as men's, nor do they receive equal treatment. Women not being aware of the problem with health disparities imposes a big challenge. For example, it was found in India that women who have cardiovascular disease, also known as CVD, do not see it as a threat to their health. Now, going into the efforts made by Pakistan's government and organizations. Pakistan's government has raised the minimum age of marriage to 18, which helps decrease the amount of child marriages. A law put in place is abduction of an individual for the purpose of forced marriage is a criminal offense. There's also the Yes I Do program, which improves young people's sexual and reproductive rights, also known as SRHR, which overall reduced young marriages and teenage pregnancies within these marriages. Young people who received this program were found to want more freedom in their decisions, and they were also able to get that. Interventions were put into certain districts, and a network model was instilled which had peer educators trained in SRHR, which I said above is sexual and reproductive rights education. Next, I will be discussing societal and organizational responsibilities along with the ethical constraints Pakistan has when advocating for women's health. The Women in Global Health Pakistan chapter, also known as the WGH, was founded in 2018 and it is focused on promoting for women's involvement and acknowledging their role in many areas, including meeting goals related to health, gender, and economic development, ensuring the representation of women leaders in health, creating systems that facilitate increased female participation, and helping to bridge the economic opportunity gap. However, there are ethical constraints that arise in advocating for women's health in Pakistan. One that we mentioned prior, but is extremely important, is the gender inequalities and human right violations. And these are constraints women and men both face because they force a way of living on the entire society, but they hold women back especially. Women are unable to receive education, join the workforce, understand their health and reproductive rights, and if the gender gap was decreased, it would make a huge difference. I have been thinking about different ways both countries could decrease the gender gap, and I would love to open up this question to the class as well, because I'm wondering if there are any possible effective ways other people can think of to decrease the gender gap. Now I'll be summarizing and concluding on the things I've said thus far. Just to reiterate, an arranged marriage is planned and agreed by the families or guardians of the couple concerned rather than by the couple themselves. Countries that predominantly have arranged marriages typically have a collectivistic culture, and this is due to the marriage symbolizing a role each person must fulfill in their family. Arranged marriage was popular across the globe in the 1900s, with it being extremely dominant in India and China, but now love marriages are more common, especially in the more developed countries. Arranged marriages are affecting women because it could lead to major depression, and it has been found to be strongly correlated with intimate partner violence. This is due to the loss in freedom and the feeling of being property for their husband, the gender disparity women face, and the little benefit women are getting from arranged marriage, which is also called cost benefit. One cultural factor that has consistently come up with both countries is the tradition of men being a provider while women are expected to be readily available at the service of men. This is due to a lack of women's rights, education, and freedom, which I feel has come up many times throughout this presentation. Continuing with summarizing and concluding, India has the most arranged marriages in their country, and they have been part of India since the 4th century. Dowries in India have also been found to be correlated with lowered self-related health. Pakistan has also many arranged marriages as well, with 78% of them being arranged in the year 2018, and in both countries, women are seen as subordinate to men, meaning less than. Women's empowerment is a sociocultural factor contributing to the problems within arranged marriages for both countries. Women are seen as inferior to men in all areas of life, and women who are less educated and not given the freedom to make their own decisions felt less empowerment, which led to worse health. Due to gender differences and roles in both countries, women are expected to be ready to reproduce while men will then provide for the family. This leads to a loss in freedom and rights. Both countries have, as we have covered, have many policies and laws in place to try and lessen the gender disparities and amount of forced and arranged marriages, but women are still impacted, and I still feel there is more to be done. The next couple of slides just include the references I have used in my research on this topic. Thank you for listening to my presentation on arranged marriage and how it still exists in some countries.